And we are live. Welcome to a very special NBA Live Before Lock, Monday, December 22nd. I am Josh Engleman. Oh, shit, I'm on the bottom. This is Greg Ehrenberg. No Eric Lindquist today. Greg and I have not done a ton of shows together in ages outside of playback. Like, this happens few and far between now. So you guys get the goods for the next hour. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow us both on Twitter. You can see the handles below our names. I'm so used to being the up one. I started pointing and there's nobody down there.
Yeah, Josh always confused. Like, oh, who's top, who's bottom today? You gotta sort those things out. Usually there's a handshake agreement made in advance, I would assume, with those kinds of things. But yeah, I mean, I also didn't know that I was going to be on the show today, but Eric is traveling for the holidays and texted me, I don't know, like hour and a half ago. And I was like, yeah, no problem. I go ahead and do it. But I was expecting right now to be working on some tutorial videos, maybe eating some food or something like that. But yeah, we got some NBA to break down. It's a pretty good slate. Games are spread out, which we don't see a ton of on DraftKings, where you see games, the main slate going all the way through 10 p.m. So possible opportunities to be doing some late swapping today as news comes about. So we'll see what ends up happening there. We got Cooper Flagg is questionable, Peyton Watson's questionable, Aaron Wiggins is questionable. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, we have a 7 o'clock start, 7:30, 8, 9, 9:30, and 2 10s. So that should be pretty fun. You alluded to some of the injury news. Speaking of injury news, have you noticed the injury report now?
New NBA injury report releases every 15 minutes. That is the new deal by the NBA, so there's been a lot of discussion about this on Twitter. Two ways. First off, professional bettors or guys who bet for profit don't like this because it means more information gets out. And one of the biggest edges that you have in betting is betting on the injury news. And books are very bad at predicting and reacting to injury news. So that is really the biggest edge that I would say exists in betting any sport, is being really good at betting NBA injury news. So there is a group of people like, well, now this is going to be a tougher angle because the news comes out every 15 minutes. From my standpoint, all right, there's updates every 15 minutes. The issue before, though, was not a lack of injury reports. Like, before we had an injury report every hour, the issue was the information on the injury report was either bogus or just flat out not updated. So to me, what's going to change is we're going to get injury reports every 15 minutes, but they're just not going to be updated every 15 minutes. I essentially think this changes nothing.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing that changed for me was it broke my injury report scraping because now the time is in the URL different. I got in my stuff this afternoon. I was like, why am I not getting any of this injury data? Like, why is it still showing me Chet in? And I went to the injury report. I was like, 15-minute files. Fun. I got to update that bad boy. So yeah, that is happening. I agree. I think it's going to be much ado about nothing. It's just 3 extra updates that aren't going to have new shit in it is my assumption.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see it actually like in these scenarios, because we typically, like, it'll be nice to see 6:35 p.m. news get updated at 6:45 instead of 7:30. Like, optically, that's good for me in these scenarios. I don't care so much about like we got one at 10:30 a.m. now we get a 10:45. Probably not as much utility in those.
And once again, those are the time frames where if you are somebody who bets and you try to beat the books on injury news, I mean, that's time you're placing bets in the morning, early afternoon anyway, and the news still isn't going to be out then. So on that front, if people are concerned about that, I don't think it's going to have any impact. I could be wrong. That's just my opinion, though.
Let them know. Donovan Mitchell is in for today.
All right, there we go. Yeah, Donovan Mitchell, who as has come up on this channel a handful of times over the last couple years, there is the weird tell, which, by the way, this is one books have not caught on to yet. But Donovan Mitchell, you will know whether he's in or out based on if he tweets #LetHimKnow on Twitter.
I'm starting to look at this slate now and realizing what's happening at the top, and it is a very unique experience for what we do at center tonight. You ready to have this discussion?
We could dive right into it. We can figure out what we want to do with Nikola Jokic, who's projected for 1 billion fantasy points. You got cheap guys like Brendan Carlson. There's all kinds of ways to go.
Yeah, so Jokic and Brandon Carlson are currently projected for the exact same ownership at 41.77%, which is incredible. Jokic is the most expensive player on today's slate at 12,500. Brandon Carlson is the cheapest a player can be today at the flat 3K. And there is also an extra wrinkle because Musa Diabate is 3,900. Ryan Kalkbrenner is out for Charlotte. He is also 37% owned. You cannot play all three of those guys in the same lineup. One of them is by default not in your lineup. Interesting dynamic here.
Yeah, so for us playing, multiple lineups, I think the answer is pretty easy. You get I don't think any of them are poor plays, right? I think you're filtering in and out of all these guys across a bunch of lineups. You're getting a good chunk of them. To me, the more interesting talking point for you and I's standpoint, it's twofold. Number one, you can only roster one on FanDuel, who would be the guy to go to on FanDuel. But then also on DraftKings, if somebody is playing just one lineup, who do you go to in between Diabate, Jokic, and Carlson? So to me, I think the easiest answer is Jokic, just because he exists in his own price range. And then it is going to be Carlson for me second, Diabate third, if I'm just ranking these three guys.
I don't think this has ever happened to me before, but I just spontaneously got the hiccups, like pretty aggressively.
It's happened.
I've been doing shows for like 8 years.
It's happened to me recently. Lofty had to talk me through it on a football show like a week ago. Oh, so is this your method? You hold your breath for a long time until... So one of two things is going to happen here. Josh is either going to get rid of his hiccups or he's going to pass out, which by default would also get rid of his hiccups if he just passed out here. So Lofty's strategy, as I learned from him...
Hold on, I'll use the belt insteed.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, don't forget to take your pants off, too. It makes things easier. So I found out what Lofty does is he will chug a glass of water, and then he sticks a finger out or something, and he sticks it up his ass. No, he'll stare at it. He'll chug water and keep his eyes fixated on one thing, and he claims that makes his hiccups go away. It didn't work for me, but he says it works for him.
Well, nothing I'm doing is working for me so far, so we'll see. By the way, Musa Diabate, close to 40% owned on FanDuel. Jokic, 21. Brandon Carlson, 11. I think I can get a sentence or two in between each hiccup, and we're going to be fine. I sound like Adam was that one night when he was wrecked and hiccuping during his sentences.
The infamous Adam fucked up show where he slowly turned green over the course of the show.
Legendary, absolutely legendary shows back in the day. Fuck, this is so annoying.
Well, we got
this is so annoying.
You see right here, we got from our guy, bro, Peter Vile says this guy's wasted. I agree.
I wish.
We've got, Emac Hiccup or Hickoff. All right, there's a dad joke there from Emac. Obi-Wan's got the solution here. Just take a bong rip, Josh. I don't know if that is something that works to get rid of hiccups, but probably worth. I'll tell you, I'll give it the old college try. I have no issue with trying.
I think I'm good. I think a deep breath through this giant nose of mine got it done.
Okay. You just inhaled all of
I'm back.
So now Josh is going to pass out because he just took a deep breath. So it inhaled all of the oxygen in his room through his gigantic nose.
I'm going to find out Katie and the dogs are all passed out downstairs.
Just suck the oxygen out of the house.
Okay. Which center? Nope. They're still here. Which center do you like the least?
So out of those three, so I'll separate it by DraftKings and FanDuel. On DraftKings, for myself, it's Jokic 1, Carlson 2, Diabate 3, meaning Diabate is my least favorite on the DraftKings side of things. Over on FanDuel, however, if I look at my FanDuel exposures, it is a little bit different because it's Carlson 1. Carlson's only 12% owned on FanDuel. So when you're getting that low of ownership on him, I mean, I don't really understand why Carlson is 1/4 the ownership of Diabate over on FanDuel. So that's gonna be the tiebreaker for me. It's gonna be Carlson 1, Diabate 2. Jokic is gonna be 3 for me on the FanDuel side of things, though.
We have Carlson and Diabate separated by a half point. Obviously, the leverage is giant swing. I'm hoping, yeah, like if I'm playing on FanDuel, I'm looking to Carlson. That can't be real. Is he gone right now?
Do I have to ban somebody from chat right now? What happened here?
Yeah, that's I'm looking too because I don't have that. But if that's not true, you gonzo.
Yeah, we got somebody making up news in chat. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt for a second, but I'm fairly, yeah. Unfortunately, this is the only thing I ban people from for chat. The one thing you cannot do is just come in and try to make up news to go ahead and try to make people, screw up their lineup. So we did have somebody in chat who's making up news there about Nikola Jokic. It is not correct. So we are going to have to put him away into a timeout here.
Deuces. Damn it. These are the worst hiccups ever.
I feel when I get the hiccups sometimes, I'm like, this people have to die from this condition on occasion.
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, the only reason I care that I have them is because it's a requirement that I continue to speak for the next 45 minutes, and unfortunately, that is complicating this.
Listen, this gig is not for the faint of heart. There are many tough trials and tribulations that you have to be able to go through to be able to sit on a YouTube channel for an hour, talk about basketball, tell dick jokes, make fun of Eric Lindquist. It's a tough activity sometimes.
That's very true. Very, very true. So we've touched on these value pieces here. I don't think we have to touch on Jokic. Like it doesn't. I think everybody understands why you play Nikola Jokic ever, especially against the Jazz. But we've got AD 9,200, the second most popular payout. We have Kenrich Williams 3,200. No Chet, no Isaiah Hartenstein, no Jalen Williams with a Y. And then we continue down with Shaden Sharp, Paolo, Jamal Murray. Starts to get a little bit blurrier there, but there's a line in the sand at Kenrich Williams where the ownership is a little bit different after that. Do you have any particular AD/Kenrich Williams thoughts? I almost got through the word thoughts.
So yeah, the one thing that is funny about this slate is the amount of incongruent players that you have to compare as if they're equals. Because it's funny when you see chat, people like, boy, I don't know if I prefer Brendan Carlson or Nikola Jokic today. And you just have guys at different positions who are, way differently priced, but have comparable ownership. I don't really have a strong stance between Kenrich Williams and AD, Josh. The reason being is I've got my lineups updated here, and I have 54.7% of Kenrich Williams and 54% of Anthony Davis. So I get a good amount of both of them and very, very similar. I mean, over 150 lineups, I have one more Kenrich Williams lineup than Anthony Davis. So I have some more strong-ish center takes, but at power forward, I'm really split on the two chalk options. They both look really good to me.
I barely have any Kenrich Williams right now.
Okay.
Which honestly surprises me. Very light there. AD, on the other hand, I'm 2xing-ish. I like Kenrich Williams, especially the power forward piece. We certainly have enough value at center right now, so getting to a cheaper person somewhere else certainly helpful. I fully expect him to be out there and get real minutes. They're shorthanded in, terms of guys that do that role. I feel like I probably should pay attention to him a little bit more, but at the same time, I think this is just a case where I'm finding value in the the mid tier a little bit more than I'm finding it at the bottom outside of Carlson and Diabate. Like, I don't. The one piece that I hate is that it's a 9:30 start, and I'd like to have a bit more of it for late swap purposes.
Yeah, so there is another reality of this too, is we don't know what the starting lineups are ultimately going to end up looking like. And we've seen teams like the Thunder do all kinds of weird things with their starting lineups. So there's also a scenario where somebody gets introduced into the fold, so all of a sudden we have to project for more minutes than we're otherwise expecting. And then we have to, move some minutes around, and then different guys end up projecting as value. So one thing that you said definitely holds true for me and how I typically play DFS is my preference is almost always to get more exposure to the later games if anything is close in between multiple decision points, because it just gives you more flexibility over the course of the slate. And then also, let's say that the Thunder do roll out a very odd starting lineup. There's a scenario here where I end up with way different looking exposures to the Thunder players than I think I'm going to right now. Because I don't know about you, I'm expecting Brandon Carlson to start as of now.
I am also expecting that from Brandon Carlson.
But with that said, he's Brandon fucking Carlson. There's nothing that says OKC has to start him. Also, Aaron Wiggins is questionable. So in the event that Wiggins doesn't play, I already think Kenrich Williams looks viable. But in the event that Aaron Wiggins is out, then I think Kenrich Williams becomes very difficult to get away from entirely.
Yeah, that takes one additional real person clean out of here. And Kenrich Williams is more real than Brooks Barnhizer and Chris Youngblood. So I think he's just going to be out. And those guys are, it's not like Kenrich Williams is huge, but they're not going to be playing the role that Kenrich Williams will be playing. It starts to get pretty dicey after basically J-Dub, Carlson, and Kenrich Williams. Everybody else is pretty little after that. So I think he's going to get a decent chunk. I probably need to give him another minute or so, and that's my biggest issue here. Nope, that's news for tomorrow. Because he's the 9:30 start is way more important to me than locking in at I guess that's the question we should have. How do you feel about Diabate being in that opening game? Does that impact your decision-making process at all?
A little bit, because just the way I situate my lineups, I typically, on days where there's going to be a lot of news, I do little upgrades to players in later locking games and little downgrades to earlier locking players. It's just a way to get my exposures a little bit more backloaded and give myself the flexibility to make those swaps. So the way it impacts Diabate, if I was just hand building a lineup, I mentioned before, for FanDuel, my preference would be to go to Carlson at center, especially because he's a fourth the ownership of Diabate. The ownership gap is insane between the two of them. And then over on DraftKings, that's also part of the reason why, when I said before, I don't necessarily have an issue with Diabate, but if I'm only going to be able to play two centers, which unless somebody's discovered a hack to play three centers over on DraftKings, the two guys I want to go to are going to be Brandon Carlson and Nikola Jokic as the two guys who I go to. And then worst case scenario, we get an unexpected OKC starting lineup, and then we could do late swaps and make some adjustments there. But also want to point out to some people about what the injury situation is, because there's probably a lot of people who are just sitting here who maybe didn't watch your strategy show in the morning, Josh. We're like, why are these morons talking about Brandon Carlson for today? Why is he so popular?
Yeah.
OKC is shorthanded today, and the majority of the guys who are out are their bigs. So there's no Chet Holmgren. There's no Isaiah Hartenstein. There's no Jalen Williams with a Y. So Jaylin Williams, he's out for today. Then you've also got Ousmane Dieng is out. Caruso is out. Nicole Topic remains out as well because of his situation. But you've got the three guys who played the most minutes for them in the front court, and Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Jalen Williams all being out. So you just run out of guys who give center minutes to. Now, could they go really small and go Jalen Williams with an E at center? Sure, that's a possibility. But even in that scenario, I still think they're going to have to carve out some amount of time for Brandon Carlson, because I just went through all those guys who are out for them. The only guy who's actually a center that's left on the active roster for today, it is Brandon Carlson, who is producing about a fantasy point per minute in a limited sample size this season.
Quinn in chat pointed something out here, and I think it's important to note it, and I think it's really important on the FanDuel side. Not only will Carlson maybe get blowout run. I don't know who else would possibly get it if it exists. Like, I think it's very realistic to think that he doesn't get it in a competitive game, that they go to either Kenrich Williams or Jalen Williams at the 5 to close this if it matters. But in a blowout, I'm almost positive it's Carlson. And very specifically then for the Hornets, in any sort of blowout scenario, it's not going to be Moussa Diabate. It will be Plumlee, or they do something else stupid like it's Tijan Salon or something. But Carlson will get that no matter what, because they don't have another, like, they're not just going to play. I can't even pick another, they're all guards. They're not going to play one of them at the 5 if Carlson, as long as Carlson can play, he's finishing the game in a non-competitive game.
Even their end of the bench guys for today, to Josh's point, it's Chris Youngblood, backcourt player, Brooks Barnhizer, backcourt player. Boy, this team is so deep. They don't even have like end of the bench scrubs. They've got 3 guys who you look at for today and be like, oh, I don't know that those are real NBA players. And Brendan Carlson, Brooks Barnhizer, Chris Youngblood, every single other player that OKC has active for today is a starter on most NBA teams.
Yeah. Like, I think Brandon Carlson is the best play on the slate today because of his price tag and the fact that, like, I just, outside of injury or preposterous foul trouble, I just don't know how he's not paying off a $3K salary today. It's the easiest name for me to click.
Super pessimistic. If you want to be super pessimistic about his minutes and say Brendan Carlson plays 20 minutes, which I think is on the low side, just considering who else they have to play center minutes, he's still scoring a fantasy point per minute this year, and you're putting him around 20 fantasy points at min price.
Yep. Yeah. It's just, we're not going to find that value. It's going to be better than everybody else's to me.
I agree.
I think now is the time that we get into, like, the weirder part of the slate, which is this high teens, low 20s ownership range. And I'll include Shaden Sharp for right now because he's kind of on an island of himself. But Sharp, Banchero, Jamal Murray, Cooper Flagg, who we don't know if they're playing or not, Denny Avdia at 9,800. There's no Jeremy Grant today for Portland. I don't know if that's official. I think he's just doubtful, but point remains. Guys like Cam Johnson, because of just shooting guard eligibility, are here. Isaiah Joe at 3,400, another shooting guard option, wild card option here for the Thunder. Asar Thompson, we have no Ron Holland today. So what happens to the minutes to this rotation for the Pistons that have gotten wider? This area right here, I think, is the most difficult to hash out. Do you have anybody in this range that stands out most to you?
All right. So what's the exact price range?
It's not even really a price range. The sort of like 15 to 25% ownership range. Where it's like, yeah, these guys are all like decent plays, but like some are different than others.
Sure. So one of them is going to be Isaiah Joe for me at 21% ownership. You got Aaron Wiggins still questionable to play, and we just went over all of the possibility for playing time up in OKC. So don't need to rehash that entire situation. But if we're looking for lower owned guys from the Thunder, Isaiah Joe is one who makes sense. Another one too, who I think we're kind of approaching a decent buy low spot for him, is Cam Johnson. Tremendously disappointing season for him so far. I thought he was going to be so good with this Denver team because he was already really efficient with the Nets playing with nobody around him. I just figure, hey, you get to play with Nikola Jokic. He's going to do nothing but his number one ability to just shoot open threes all the time. And for whatever reason, I don't know what the reason is. It just hasn't worked out that way for him so far to open the season. But you've got a Denver team that they're already shorthanded. There's no Christian Brown. There's no Aaron Gordon. Peyton Watson is now also questionable. It's a great matchup against OKC. I think this really lines up nicely, especially if Peyton Watson is out, for Cam Johnson to potentially put up a ceiling score like we haven't really seen from him yet this season. One thing that I think really makes for a good case for him is the minutes are starting to trend up for him. We saw earlier in the year, the playing time as he struggled kind of went down. He played, 32 minutes on opening night, had a really poor game. And then we just saw him kind of play around like 22 to 28 minutes for a little bit as he just kind of struggled to fit in Denver. But now, as the team's been shorthanded, they've played in some competitive games. You look at the playing time as of late for Cam Johnson, 32 minutes, 36 minutes, 43 minutes, 33 minutes, 39 minutes, 35, 34, 36 minutes. He's too good of a player to just never make shots again. So I think we've hit the buy low spot on Cam Johnson, where it's like the most opportunity for the lowest price, and not no ownership, but like minimal ownership.
You are preaching to the choir with this one. I've been playing way too much Cam Johnson lately. I've been betting on this idiot a lot lately, and I have an absolute ton of him today. I love the price. I love the matchup. I love the position. I love the time of this game. That helps me too. I assume I end up, losing a little bit of it as the slate goes on, as I move some stuff around, but he's one of my most exposed players. I've loved it all day. It doesn't change for me today. The one thing that's stopping him is because I started digging into like, why is this idiot not shooting more? Like, why didn't he just step into MPJ shots? Like what's causing this? Guys are missing. Why isn't he taking them? Tim Hardaway Jr. is taking like 11 threes per 100 possessions with Christian Brown and Aaron Gordon off the floor. And Cam Johnson's just not taking those shots. And it's like, man, I would really prefer Cam Johnson to be shooting these joints. I don't know I don't know why it's not happening. I thought he would be shooting more. I'm totally with you there. So we are in alignment on Cam Johnson for this particular spot. I've got a ton of Tobias Harris right now.
Interesting. Let me see. What do I have of him?
I think Ron Holland being out like really matters for him.
I don't have a ton. I'm about in line with the field. He's 21% owned. I have him in 22% of lineups right now. Favorable price point at $4,900. Portland certainly had a good defense this year, but I do think that the absence of Holland will help to solidify the minutes of Tobias Harris. And also, I mean, you're just getting him at generally a pretty low price point for him at $4,900. I do question a little bit what his actual ceiling is, Tobias Harris, but I do think he's too cheap. He's somebody who should be projected for mid to high 20s fantasy points. So at only $4,900 and power forward eligibility, which it's a fairly weak position outside of Anthony Davis and Kenrich Williams. I do think he looks solid. I just don't have like an outrageous amount of him.
Yeah, I'm looking at that position. I'm looking at that price. Should be a relatively competitive game. They're like small favorites in Portland. And if it is, like we see Tobias Harris get these 30, 31, 32-minute games every once in a while. Now no Ron Holland, who's sort of like on the same hill as him. I think that upside of like a couple extra minutes is there. Again, I love the fact that this is a 10 o'clock game. Like I have a ton of Tobias Harris. Cool. It'll probably become pieces of other stuff as the day goes on. But he's another guy that like in this range, I'm getting a little bit more of, and I think a lot of it has to do with the Ron Holland piece. One guy I'm not getting in this range is Jamal Murray. Is that a direction you're like? It's not that I have a problem with Jamal Murray, but 8,500 here, good spot against Utah. That's just not the spot that I'm going to. I'm quite a bit under the field.
So I'm not another guy who I'm just kind of aligned with the field on. Same with Tobias Harris. It's very odd that this happens on a lot of it just hasn't been the case on a lot of slates this year. Point guard sucks. It's a really shitty position. Yeah. Almost always the worst positions we see. It's like small forward and power forward suck. But we've got Kenrich Williams as a good value option right now. Anthony Davis is a good pay up option. Small forward is also fairly thin. I think that there's some opportunities
Pause.
Yeah.
I gotta stop you. Mason Plumlee starting for the Hornets.
All right. Well, that's something.
Yeah, it is.
Well, this also drastically changes the outlook, obviously, of Moussa Diabate, because I assume they just each play like 24 minutes.
That sounds more. I think this is probably one of those situations where like Plumlee starts, Diabate closes if it's competitive, and it's like a 22-26 split ultimately. But I mean, this certainly brings down any ability to like really extra special like Moussa Diabate.
Yeah, what was let's see, what was our projection on Diabate's minutes before we were at We were at 26 on Diabate before, so it's not like we were crazy high on him. But yeah, I'm gonna just make a guess that it's like 24-24 split. If one of them plays significantly better than the other, then you could see a couple minutes go to one or the other. If like foul trouble happens or something like that. But this definitely sours me a little bit on Diabate. On the other side, though, Plumlee is certainly an option now.
Yeah, Plum Dog Millionaire time, flat 3K. I mean, like, he's not going to look as good as Brandon Carlson. I don't think he'll look as good as Kenrich. But it's just going to it's going to take Moussa Diabate from 35% owned to 20, and it's going to make Mason Plumlee be 15 or so, 20, and probably it just splits the Diabate ownership into two people, more or less.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what we do with our minutes when the data updates in a few minutes here. But needless to say, everything is going to have to be rerun for us here, Josh.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw, but we did get a handful of super chats, so I guess we could hit on these while we wait for the projections to update. What was this one here? Headhunter Racing. Greg, I'm the same guy from last night. About my 7th place in NFL. Does that get me to a basketball sim? Unfortunately, no. The Hall of Fame is top 3 in the GPP, but congrats on 7th. I don't want to make it seem like 7th is no good or anything like that. That's certainly a good outcome there. But top 3 for the Stochastic Hall of Fame. If anybody else wants a chance to be in the Stochastic Hall of Fame, play DFS with the Stochastic Avatar. And if you come in the top 3 of a GPP without ties, then shoot us a message at Stochastic HOF on Twitter, and we can highlight your win. But unfortunately, Headhunter Racing, appreciate the nice words here. Says, big fan and been here for a long time of all the staff, and all are excellent at your jobs, other than Eric, he says. All right, thank you very much for the super chat there. D Buff, favorite single entry small forward on DraftKings. For me right now, Josh, it's Cooper Flagg. Obviously, this is subject to change because he's questionable and might not play, but we're likely not going. Max Christie was just ruled out. Let me double check to see we didn't get Cooper Flagg news just because I saw the Christie update.
He's in. Cooper Flagg is in. It came in right when the Plumlee news came in. Yeah.
Okay. So Flagg is in, Christie's out, Clay is in. All right. So with Cooper Flagg confirmed in, and also it didn't seem like something massively serious. He was dealing with a back contusion. It's not like he was dealing with an illness or a knee or anything like that. It was just a bruised back. So potentially him being questionable in the injury report all day could bring down his ownership a little bit, which is something that I am going to in the contest generator. I'll give him one down arrow, just assuming the field might kind of take that into account, the injury there, and it lowers ownership a little bit. So that's something that also might be driving to a little bit more of Flagg. But Flagg is my favorite small forward option, Josh, and shouldn't be a surprise. He's going to get much better as the season goes on. We're already seeing that now. His efficiency significantly different in December than it was in November.
Yeah, he's looking so much better. I think he's great. No notes, and I had a bunch of them before this, so I share your interest in Cooper Flagg as a small forward here. I think he's probably the best one. I'm fascinated by Jalen Williams, but if we're talking favorite single entry small forward on DraftKings, it's Cooper Flagg.
All right. I see we just got a projections and ownership update, Josh. So let's check this out, and then we'll answer the rest of the super chats that we have here waiting for us. But I'm really interested to see what we did with the minutes for Diabate and Plumlee.
23 Diabate, 22 Mason Plumlee. Currently 27% ownership Diabate, 10 to Plumlee. We've got it pretty much neutral, a little bit more optimal for Plumlee. Huge negative leverage right now. I think this probably ends up being I think the ownership is probably about right, because not as many people are going to be swapping off of it as fast to. I think that seems right. Plumlee probably a little underrepresented when all is said and done.
Yeah, I'll see when I update stuff right here. Plumlee does feel like the kind of guy who, if he has a ceiling game at min price, people are going to be like, how do we not play more of, how is this guy only 10% owned? And people be beside themselves about what the ownership was. I definitely want to be
Yeah.
overweight to the field on Plum if he is going to end up being 10% owned.
I mean, there's just so much value out there, you know? Well, okay, yeah, like if he's 10% owned, I would like to be over the field too, but it brings that conversation back into it of like, how much do you want to lock in a 7 o'clock start with 6 more opportunities to move that kind of stuff around?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he's going to be in 50% of lineups for me or anything like that, but maybe like 15 to 20% exposure I'll get to him at 10% ownership, and I'd feel pretty good about that.
Okay. Do we want to hit that FanDuel super chat that had come in?
Yes, sir. Let's pull that up. That was the one from Zachary Cooper. Top plays on FanDuel by position. So I do have Sims rerunning on my computer. I'm running them for DraftKings right now, and then I'll run them for FanDuel afterwards. But doesn't mean we can't answer this question here, Josh. So for overall favorite option on FanDuel at point guard, I am going to lean towards. Oh, there's a few options you go with here. I'm going to go SGA at 10,600. Or sorry, Cade Cunningham at 10,600. I was in between SGA and Cade Cunningham as backup option. I'm going to lean towards Cade.
I don't really like the pricing here on any of these dudes. Yeah, I'll see your Cade and I'll say that it's SGA. I think I would pay up there. I think there's enough value at the other positions that SGA makes more sense for me here.
Okay. Yeah, they're pretty comparable. I just leaned a little bit towards Cade, but I think both of them look pretty similar as far as point guard goes. Point guard it's a weak position today on FanDuel and DraftKings. For me at actually, it's kind of funny. A lot of the shooting guard options are the same as the point guard options over on FanDuel, but I'll go with Shaedon Sharpe at shooting guard.
Yeah, I think it probably has to be him. If I didn't go SGA, I would have went AJ Mitchell here, but I'll go. I'm going to join you with Shaedon Sharpe.
Okay, so next we've got small forward, and for small forward on FanDuel, I'll go with Aaron Wiggins. The obvious caveat here is that he is questionable to play. So if he's out, you're going to want to make that change. But Aaron Wiggins is one of my favorite value options who I assume is going to go overlooked. We have him projected for decent ownership right now. Nothing crazy. Ownership in the 20% range. But I think it's going to be lower because he's questionable heading into lock. And if he's out, then you just do late swaps and more OKC value guys look even better.
I agree that I prefer Wiggins. I would go with Tobias Harris right now. He's kind of my dude. But if Wiggins ends up in, I would look to swap to him. I prefer Wiggins just because, I mean, that extra $1,200 is big.
Let's see. Power forward on FanDuel. That for me is going to be.
That's going to be Kenrich for me.
Power forward. Yeah, Kenrich Williams. We'll be aligned on that one. And then finally at center, that'll be Carlson.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there on Carlson. And that helps because you and I both paid up at point guard for different guys.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that good synergy there from you and I.
All right. Thank you for the super chat, Zach. And then we've got from Langston Cole wants to know Markkanen, Jalen Williams, or Triple J. Last man in, please and thanks. All right. Triple J, Markkanen, Jalen Williams. I'm going to go Jalen Williams.
Yeah, I think he's got the biggest ceiling by far here. I'm mildly intrigued in Triple J because it's like, if Memphis is in it, he's probably a part of it, but I just don't trust Memphis in any way in the spot, even in a shorthanded OKC team. So yeah, I'm going to say Jalen Williams.
I also don't trust Triple J. I was playing a lot of Triple J earlier on in the season, being like, he surely has to bounce back and start to play better. It's just been a poor season for him for whatever. The vibes are super shitty in Memphis right now.
Yeah, it's not great. And I have joined you on this little island of playing Triple J, and it never, ever, ever works for me.
Yeah, I don't
What
know.
else we got?
There's something weird going on there. Eric and I had talked about it on a show last week where, I mean, it seems like we were doing some research into some of the stories. It seems like Triple J, at the very least, John Moran, because he already got suspended for conduct detrimental to the team at one time this year. It seems like they don't really like the coaching situation, but they already ran one good coach out of town and seemingly hand selected the current coach, and they're not getting along with them. I don't know. John Moran just seems like a nightmare to deal with, but somehow Triple J is kind of falling into that vortex of Moran. I think the whole team just needs to be broken up. But anyway, long story short, Jalen Williams there.
Thoughts on Collier, Cam Johnson, Jaylen Brown, AD, Jokic, Joe, Kenrich Williams, Carlson. Thanks, guys.
I like all those guys. I think it's a good looking lineup, Rocky. I don't. If you're looking for more critical feedback, I don't really have anything. I think you've played all mostly reasonable players there.
Yeah, I don't see anybody in that list of guys that are like, you should not do this. I've got pretty decent stand on most of that list.
Yeah, you've
That's
got
good to me.
Yeah, you've got some good looking chalk options in there, but it's also not like all of the chalk exclusively. You've got some backloaded guys. You got flexibility to make some swaps. That lineup would sim out really well if we ran it through the single lineup sims. Roll it out, Rocky. Good luck.
Should I run it?
We could do it. Yeah, we could plug it in and see how it ends up looking. And while you plug that in, I'm going to check Discord to see what Discord questions we have. So Josh will run that lineup for Rocky in the single lineup sims. Now it really has to come out positive, or what an ass I look like, which happens pretty regularly on the Sunday show that I do by myself, Josh, because I always try to guess if the lineups are going to sim out positively or negatively. And I take some swings and misses. I'll be really critical of somebody's line and be like, yeah, there's no reason to play this. There's no way it sims out well. And it's like 40% sim ROI, and I look like a moron. But yeah, I think that lineup should sim out well. M Grizzly wants to know, just getting to tune in, any guys that I'm boosting up or down. Oh, yep, there we go. 94.6% sim ROI. You're looking good there, Rocky. So M Grizzly, anybody who I'm boosting up or down, just in general for me, for a slate like this, where we've got backloaded players, uncertainty on OKC, we don't know their starting lineup, we don't know if Aaron Wiggins is in or out. My preference is to just ROI downgrade players in the earlier locking games, so I get a little bit more access to flexibility for late swap, but it's more like a blanket thing as opposed to individual players for today.
I think we're good on super chats and stuff right now. It's 6:45. I know that Eric's not here, but this feels right. Nuke of the night time. Let's get into it. Fun times for what this slate looks like. I've got a couple decent stands on some lower owned guys, but the floor is yours, Greg. Do you have a nuke of the night for tonight?
All right, good timing, because I just finished a sim run. And all right, what's a reasonable guy who I could point out, who I think is a good value option, but isn't, one of the many players who's uber chalky, right? I don't want to just be saying Nikola Jokic or Brendan Carlson or something like that right here. So here's the direction I'm going to go in for you guys. I'm going to give out Isaiah Joe, who I'm actually like 2xing the field on now in my last run of sims. I'm getting to a lot of Isaiah Joe here. So already as is, I think Isaiah Joe looks pretty good. OKC shorthanded. We were going over before, Josh and I, who would play in the event of a garbage time. I think Isaiah Joe's in that garbage time lineup for OKC today, should the game end up being lopsided. So I do think that that's one potential outcome for him. Another one, too, is if the game's competitive, he's just part of the rotation. Another thing to keep in mind, too, Aaron Wiggins is questionable. If Aaron Wiggins is out, Isaiah Joe is a clear benefactor from that kind of scenario. So Isaiah Joe at $3,400, I think he should be just as highly owned as some of the other super chalk pieces on the slate, but he just isn't. So give me Isaiah Joe at 21% ownership.
I like the shout. No problems with it. I hope I end up with a little bit more as we go. Realistically, I would like to go with Tobias Harris. I'm not going to do that because it's Tobias Harris and like there's no fun in that. I've seen this guy get mentioned a couple times. We haven't really talked about him. I am 2xing him and then some a bit. Give me $4,200 point guard Isaiah Collier, who's been seeing a bit more playing time here for the Utah Jazz as of late, and more realistically, might grab a couple extra minutes late in this one because they get drubbed by the Nuggets. So go Isaiah Collier, nuke of the nighttime.
All right. Isaiah Collier. I'm overweight to him as well. I have more of Isaiah Joe, but I am overweight to Collier, who had some good fantasy games last year when he had extended playing time. Just this year, he missed the start of the season. Keontae George is playing ridiculously well. So we haven't seen quite the same opportunities for Isaiah Collier. But like Josh said, those opportunities, they started to uptick lately.
They have indeed. How do Mathurin and Cam Spencer look on FanDuel? That's one question I can definitely have to look up because my guess is not great. 15% ownership to Cam Spencer, 7 to Mathurin. I would definitely prefer Cam Spencer in that equation.
Yeah, I'll say Cam Spencer over Mathurin. Neither of them are particularly strong options, though.
No. I'm not a huge Mathurin guy ever, but, what are you going to do? Lakers should have Collier over Bronny. Yeah, I don't. They're both equally not NBA players. So what are you going to do there? I have a ton of Cam Johnson. I have a ton of Nikola Jokic. I've got a ton of Brandon Carlson. I've got a ton of Cooper Flagg, AD, my boy Tobias Harris, Isaiah Collier. Any names you're seeing in your exposures that we haven't really touched on?
Let's see. In terms of guys we haven't talked about at all,
I got 30% of Brandon Williams right now. He's someone we haven't touched on. Now, no Max Christie.
I have 23% of him, so he's showing up a little bit. I've got so many guys. I don't know how your lineups are looking, but I have so many players in 16 to 24% of lineups. So many guys.
Yeah, that's a pretty busy range for me. Like if I just start reading like Paolo, Murray, Kenrich, Shaden, Denny, Joval, Nemhard, Asar, Peyton Watson. Like there's a lot in that. Like they're probably in 10 to 20. I'm with you there. And I think that's just a testament to the slate. Who's your biggest fade?
Ooh, all right. So let's see. In my latest update on lineups, nobody who's super chalky. There's a bunch of guys though who are like in around 10% owned, like Jaden Ivey and Anthony Black, who don't really show up in lineups for me. I'm considering if I want to do a negative ROI boost to Diabate to have him show up in less lineups for me, because he's still projected for 27% ownership. I have him right around 20% of lineups right now, so I'm a little bit underweight to the field to Diabate. But I'm thinking if I just want to lower that exposure even more with him coming off the bench.
I have 10% right now, so I'm pretty happy with that. My biggest fade technically is Jaylen Brown, but I don't have anybody like just massively off of, like, I'm not way off of any chalk guy right now.
Okay.
All right. Let's hit Sam's question here. I know it's a deal if Aaron Wiggins is out, but is he viable if in? I'm getting a lot in the Sims. Yeah, he looks great if he plays.
Yeah, especially his ownership keeps going down as we get closer to lock. He's projected for 13% ownership. I'll guarantee you this. If Aaron Wiggins plays, regardless of what the outcome is, if he plays and he comes in at his projected ownership, which I don't see a reason he's going to become more popular post-lock when he's questionable heading into the slate. No. I will guarantee he'll be one of the highest sim ROI guys in the post-contest sims tomorrow.
Completely agree. That Q tag will scare people off all day, and he won't get to where he should be. And obviously that's already marginal for him. And his upside is playing a ton.
Yeah. And by the way, if he's out, just join me and play some Isaiah Joe, who's also going to be underowned.
Yeah, you'll have an easy fix. There's going to be plenty to move around to at that point. Shout out to the 1,700 people that are here right now. How about you guys go ahead and hit that thumbs up? Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Let's run that like number up as high as we can. And for the 1,700 of you that are here, I know we tell you guys this a lot. Download the Tails app. Link is in the description. whether it's bets, pick'em cards, DFS, anything you could possibly be looking for. We're curating it for you. This is totally free. I'm posting a ton of stuff there every day. Greg is probably posting more on Tails than anybody that is on Tails. If you're looking for just to corner the market on good bets, it's that simple, and it will cost you absolutely nothing to follow us there. So download the app, leave a rating and review if you want. We'd love a rating. We're still trying to get to 1,000 by Christmas. You guys could help us out with that.
And I mean, here's the way to think about it. Let's say you're not even sold on the rating. Just do this. You win a big bet, whether it's a parlay from me, one of Josh's prize picks cards. That's how you go ahead and you thank us. It's not not with money or anything. Like Josh said, the stuff we post there is free. Just leave us a rating or review. That goes a really long way. It means more than anything that you guys do to help us out over on Tails. By the way, Josh, we got a handful of questions from Discord, so we could answer these in the final few minutes to go here. One is from Carson. Carson is asking, how much Jokic plus Carlson is too much? Getting almost every lineup with both, and it feels wrong. I mean, I think they're pretty clearly the two best center options. So I don't know how many lineups you're playing, Carson, but to me, Carlson's my favorite value option. Jokic is my favorite spend up option. So I don't have an issue with you playing a bunch of lineups with them together.
Yeah, like realistically, I would play every lineup with the two of them. Like this is a personal risk tolerance question. Like, how pissed are you going to be if you lock them in every lineup and they fail? If it's going to piss you off a ton, then make it like, 70% of your lineups or something like that. That's all that question is. You're going to find really good sim ROI lineups with both of them, with one of the two, with none of the two. It's up to you on how you feel about, like, how you want to feel when you're sweating your lineups. You'll get good lineups one way or the other.
And then Rabashua wants to know, which I think is a good question. He wants to know, why is it that there is only 11% ownership going to Carlson over on FanDuel? So first and foremost, it's because you can only roster one center on FanDuel. That's something that influences it a little bit. But then you've also got guys like Anthony Davis's center eligibility, Jared Allen. Diabate is still pulling, even though we have Diabate coming off the bench. He's still pretty popular over on FanDuel. We got Diabate pulling, let's see, what is it on FanDuel? Yeah, Diabate is still 27% owned over on FanDuel. So part of it also is people have been hearing about playing Diabate all day. If they read any articles, if they watched any morning content, or they saw updates in the afternoon or whatever, like they've just heard a lot of talk about Diabate. So I think there's going to be some people who are just like, hey, I've heard Diabate is the best value option, so I just want to roll him out. Carlson probably, if Carlson's going to be different than what his ownership projection is, he's more likely to be overweight to it than underweight to that number. But it's mostly just a function of there only being one center to roster over on FanDuel, and Diabate being the value option the field seems to prefer. I don't really have a better answer than that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what that ownership ends up being on these guys by the time we get there.
Kizono wants to know, how do we feel about Robert Williams with the Detroit front court getting to tons of him? Tons of Robert Williams?
There's no reason you should be getting tons of Robert Williams. That should be impossible.
To me. There's the massive.
That should be impossible.
Cost. Massive opportunity cost.
He's 3% owned. Unless you changed his projection, there's like no way that could happen. He's not a guy on this slate.
Yeah, just too much opportunity cost of the other centers that we have to roster. That's my opinion. It's not even anything against Robert Williams or the matchup. It's just look at who else you have to play for value at the position. The Black Mamba wants to know how this lineup looks, and we'll just read it off. I don't have any issues with any of these players, so I guarantee you this would also sim out. I don't even have to plug this in. It's a guaranteed high sim ROI lineup if we plugged in a single lineup sims. Collier, Joe, Flag, Anthony Davis, Carlson, Sharp, Kendrick, Jokic. It's all good options. It's a good lineup.
I mean, if that's coming from Discord. Yeah. I mean, put it into the tool you pay for. That's going to be our answer.
I don't have, but yeah, like Black Mamba, it's a good lineup. I don't change anything.
Yeah.
I don't have any kind of real alternative advice to you there. Just roll out the lineup. It's a good one.
Yeah. Put it in the single lineup
Truffles.
sim. If it doesn't come out at a negative 30, you're probably good to go.
He doesn't even have to. I could eyeball some of the sim ROIs. That's a high sim ROI lineup. I know you're gonna get the great lineup thing when you run it in.
Dude, 2 minutes ago, you just got done telling me that you screw it up every Sunday.
Yeah, not this one though. Not this one. Football's harder because of all the correlation and whatnot.
Sure.
Like if somebody just has a basketball lineup with the best value plays, it's a good lineup.
Yeah, I agree.
Truffles. Which pay up options am I overweight to and underweight to? All right, let's see. So pay up options, I am overweight to on DraftKings. That is going to be Nikola Jokic and Anthony Davis. They happen to be the two most chalky guys, but still, I think it's warranted. If you're looking for lower owned guys that I'm overweight to, Denny Avdia and Cade Cunningham. As far as there's nobody that's a pay up option that I'm massively underweight to because there's only two popular ones in AD and Jokic, and I think they both make sense.
Yeah, I'm way over the field on Jokic. I'm way over the field on AD. And the only other guy that I have over the field is Denny Avdia. So you basically just laid that one out there for me.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I guess technically I could say, all right, I don't have very much of SGA, but he's not projected for a ton of ownership. So I'm not massively underweight to the field to him or anything like that. And then, yeah, I mean, how underweight can you be to somebody who's, like 6 or 7% owned? There aren't other popular pay up options.
Yeah, eventually you just don't have them. Hey, by the way, we've got an NFL show coming up in 15 minutes. Yeah. Dave Loughran and who's going to be on that NFL show?
Spags.
Oh, I was alluding because I thought it was you. That's I thought you were pulling double duty. That's why I set it up like that. I just thought it was you.
No. It is it's Spags on the Monday Night Football show. As much as I would love to, because I did the NFL strategy show this morning, as much as I would like to do another hour of talking about Phillip Rivers and his inability to throw the ball more than 18 yards, you guys are going to get Spags opinions on Phillip Rivers. If you guys would like to see how I am betting the game, I do have a same game parlay for Monday Night Football posted and pinned to my Tails package. And you guys might want to check some of those out. I'm running unsustainably hot on same game parlays. I win like a plus 700 bet every single day to the point where people just think it's free money. It's not, but I keep winning them.
Well, I mean, it makes it really easy when you place 7 of them, but you only post the winner. So it seems like you win every day, right, Greg? That's how some people may do this. Now, you've been crushing those. It's been sick to see. Do we know if Spags is going to be doing this with light today, or does he have to do it?
You guys are going to tune
under
in
candlelight.
To find out. We did get 2 super chats here really quick, so I want to make sure we get to them before the end. Who's the cab that breaks the slate tonight on DK? None of them.
I hope none of them. I don't think I have them.
And then Bobby B's SGA versus Cade. I prefer Cade.
I prefer SGA, but
yeah, I don't have.
I'm very happy with either one of them.
I don't have a massive amount of either of them on DraftKings, but I have more of Cade, and I barely have any of SGA. But on FanDuel,
I don't have either of them.
Okay, yeah. On FanDuel, I got to overweight to both of them in the lineups I ran. On DraftKings, I have 13% of Cade and 3% of SGA.
We locked, man. Buckle up, get yourselves ready. Start preparing yourselves for an NFL slate tonight. Go Amir Abdullah. Longest touchdown is what we're looking for. I'm a whisperer of bonus bets in these scenarios. And then get ready for late swaps, like every half hour for the next 3 hours. Best way to handle that, subscribing to Stochastic and using our late swap tool. It will not get any easier than that. Greg, anything else before we dip out of here?
No, just like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow Josh and I on Tails, follow us on Twitter, and good luck tonight. Go late swap.
Later.